Hello, I'm Julia Bradsher, and welcome to this episode of Take 5 with GFPI. In today's episode, I'm speaking with GFPI board member, Dr. Bob Brackett. Bob is Vice President of the Illinois Institute of Technology and Director of the Institute for Food Safety and Health, also known as IFSH. Dr. Brackett has nearly 30 years of experience in scientific research in industry, government, and academia. He joins us today to talk about the different companies developing food safety technology at the IFSH Pilot Lab. Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Julie. Good to be here.
So I'd like to start by asking you to talk about the mission of the IFSH Pilot Lab and its contribution to food protection technology.
Sure. Well, the lab that you're talking about is what we call the BCPP, or Biocontainment Pilot Plant. This is a very unique environment where, and the mission follows, where companies can actually do for real practical research using the actual pathogens that they might encounter in their processing environment to make sure that they can actually decontaminate the equipment if they want to, or that the equipment is actually performing the way that they thought it was.
Okay. And what draws food protection innovators to the IFSH Pilot Lab?
Well, I think the main thing is just the fact that the lab is structured so that it will allow them to bring actual food processing equipment into the plant, actually contaminated with organisms that they might encounter, such as salmonella or listeria, and then allow the researchers to actually work with that equipment just as they would in a factory or in a plant that they're making food, but without having to worry about contaminating those plants or contaminating the workers themselves. This allows them to then go to FDA or other regulatory agencies and actually have the evidence that they need that their equipment is working the way that it's intended.
Okay. And how will the Food Safety Modernization Act impact food protection technology going forward?
Oh, I think the Food Safety Modernization Act is going to have a big impact, and it's primarily centered around one word, and that is prevention. And so what this will do is actually allow and actually promote the use of preventive techniques, or what's known as preventive controls. These controls are things that a company would do to a food to make sure that it is safe for the consumers. Now, they can't just assume that it's going to be safe. So what they'll need to do is validate and verify that these preventive controls are working to actually protect consumers. So where companies in the past may have had a great food safety program, they never really had to validate to FDA the way that they will now that their operations are in compliance with the law.
Okay. So switching gears a little bit, what up-and-coming food protection technologies are you seeing come through the lab?
Well, we're seeing the need to validate new technologies that are both aimed at quality, that is much more fresh-like, both in appearance and in flavor, at the same time using less additives. And so you may see some new technologies such as microwave, which is not new, but there are new applications to foods, or high pressure processing, which will allow foods to be processed in such a way that they look much fresher, don't require the use of the antimicrobials that they may have in the past, and actually provide the consumer with a better quality product.
And one last question, where do you see food protection technology going, let's say 10 years from now?
I see most of the technologies aimed at providing, still again on this theme of fresh-like products. It's apparent now that consumers don't like a lot of ingredients on the ingredient label. Even though the ingredients may be safe, they just don't like it. They're interested in getting back to what they remember from their childhood 50 or 60 years ago in some cases, or even 30 years ago. And so new technologies will emerge that are considered to be adequate by FDA, that allow the food companies to be able to provide consumers a simpler looking product, but yet actually has better safety than current technologies.
Well, thank you for your insight, Bob. And that's it for this episode of Take 5 with GFPI.